Those delivering the greatest gift to Sydney this Christmas aren't dressed in red and they don't ride a sleigh or carry a sack. Some work in scrubs and shields with a swab in hand.
I really want to turn our mind and our attention to those frontline workers who today are not with their families, but working hard to keep all of us safe.
They've tested another record number of residents. Almost 70,000 swabs were taken across the state yesterday. They found 7 new local infections. 6 of those people are already self-isolating. 4 of the cases are part of the Northern Beaches outbreak. 2 are close contacts of infectious patients, and 1 is under investigation, but that person works on the peninsula.
Merry Christmas!
In Manly, there's some festive familiarities.
With presents, pancakes.
But COVID's really put a dampener on celebrations.
It doesn't feel like Christmas at all.
No, it doesn't. No, not at all. But we've just got to make the best of the situation.
It's crazy, but I think the government is doing the right thing and people are respecting the rules.
Rules that are no doubt easier to enforce under gloomy skies.
I don't need to say about social distancing because there's no one here, as you can see.
We are still concerned with potential spread through the CBD, as a number of cases did present in the CBD, and we want to make sure people who've gone back to their suburbs have not passed that on then to others. 2
venues are causing the most concern. 3 cases are connected to a sports bar at Circular Quay. And in nearby Paddington, an alert has been issued for a cafe and deli. A child has become the 4th patient to emerge here. Many more people are in self-isolation.
Don't risk passing on COVID to your friends and family. If you're in isolation, you have to stay in isolation.
Authorities still don't know how the outbreak began. They've revealed a worker at a pub on the Northern Beaches experienced mild symptoms about 2 weeks ago, but none of his close contacts have tested positive. So the question is, who infected him?
We are pursuing many lines of inquiry concurrently.
Leaving just a little time for Christmas cheer this year.
And for those caught up in the Northern Beaches lockdown, Christmas this year looked very different, and it all came down to where you live. While some people were able to celebrate with friends and family, others were forced to spend it in isolation.
The turkey was ready and the drinks too. The Staunton family in North Curl made the most of the relaxed Christmas Day restrictions.
I was anticipating being completely locked down and not doing anything, so I mean, we were delighted that we could have 10 of us.
One of those visitors was Jordan Cahill, who can't spend Christmas with his family who live in Avalon, which is inside the lockdown zone.
It's a bit different this year. I get to spend the Christmas on FaceTime with my family and Christmas with my girlfriend's side of the family.
But there were no guests at the Clavery Christmas table. They're in isolation after finding out they were recently at a gym visited by a positive case.
So we were going to his grandparents, my parents' house, with the family, another family. And then, we were having a whole group of people here over on Boxing Day, and so that won't happen now.
Merry Christmas!
The usual in-person get-together was online instead, and the festive feast was a more toned-down affair.
I think I'll have ham on toast made look fancy. We had to scramble to get some food from Woolies, but obviously so was everyone else.
But some traditions stayed the same.
I want this one. I got some new presents, new toys from my presents, so hopefully it will get no longer boring.
This is Christmas this year.
Gemma Eastwood is also in isolation, which meant she had to spend Christmas at home alone.
I don't have my kids with me this year, and no family, no friends as well. So it's going to be a lot of Zoom calls and a lot of phone calls, and a very quiet day on the couch, maybe catching up on some Netflix.
She'll officially be able to leave her Bilgola house next week on New Year's Day.
I think a lot of us will be doing at least some driveway drinks or catching up in a socially distant way.
Freedom can't come soon enough. Lydia Feng, ABC News.
And despite the border closures and warnings over the virus spreading, Australians have made the most of a unique Christmas day. Thousands joined in church services, while charities handed out takeaway hampers to help those in need. Zalika Rismal has more.
Christmas Day saw thousands of the Christian faith pause to pray and reflect.
For this year, we've all had that experience. A year of anxiety about health, finances, family and friends.
In Sydney, the Northern Beaches outbreak forced some Christmas services online.
Obviously, we can't see people face to face, which is like we enjoy a lot with the community. But in terms of remembering what Christ has done for us and share the love of God is still the same.
Meanwhile, in Melbourne, after a long winter and months in lockdown, worshippers gathered in person once again. Some churches even welcomed furry friends among the masses. In Adelaide, dancing too was back on the cards, with local communities making up for months of lost time.
To be honest, it's a day that I look forward to every day, to be able to come together.
Others chose to spend Christmas sharing the festive cheer with the less fortunate.
Merry Christmas, mate. Happy holidays. Yeah, take this too. Some presents for you. I used to hate Christmas Day. Now I can't wait. I'm counting down 365 days to go till next year.
Many charities replaced sit-down Christmas lunches with takeaway hampers. In Ballarat, in regional Victoria, this charity reported a jump in the number of people needing a feed.
This year for Christmas, we've seen a 25% increase in the uptake of our Christmas lunch offer. People are struggling.
They help us very much. I see a lot of people to need it this moment, especially for me because my husband passed away and I have that last time, but it's very nice.
While many Australians are all too eager to farewell 2020, newborn baby Matilda arrived 2 weeks early.
Was hoping to avoid the Christmas date, but that's okay. Good Christmas surprise.
Can't wish for anything better.
New life bringing new hope for a better 2021. Zalika Rismal, ABC News.
Hundreds of defence personnel are spending Christmas Day away from home on COVID assist operations or deployed overseas. After a busy year, which began with the bushfire emergency, the men and women of the ADF are sending their best wishes to their loved ones. Here's Defence correspondent Andrew Green.
In 2020, the operational tempo's been high and unrelenting. Now, as the busiest of years draws to a close, the men and women of the ADF are getting into the festive spirit.
Merry Christmas, everyone!
From Africa to Afghanistan, the Pacific and the Middle East, this Christmas nearly 1,500 Australian personnel are deployed overseas.
Merry Christmas!
And they're sending best wishes back home.
I hope you're all having a good day and I can't wait to see you when I get back.
Make sure you have a Merry Christmas and I'll see you soon.
I love you and I miss you and I can't wait to be back with you in the new year.
Many began the year on bushfire operations. Now, as 2021 approaches, hundreds of personnel are again away from home on Operation COVID Assist.
Merry Christmas and I can't wait to see you all soon.
From the bosses, there's high praise.
I sincerely thank you all for all your efforts.
You are shining lights of our country.
And hopes for a much quieter year ahead.
Merry Christmas for all of us!
Andrew Green, ABC News.
4.5 years after it voted to leave the European Union, the United Kingdom has finally struck a post-Brexit trade deal. Frantic last-minute wrangling got it over the line just a week before the deadline, which would have seen the UK crash out of the EU without any formal agreement. After years of political turmoil, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson says the UK has taken back control of its borders, laws and fishing waters. For details on the deal, here's Europe correspondent Linton Besser.
One last all-nighter by Brexit negotiators in Brussels and a last-minute Christmas present is all wrapped up.
I'm very pleased to tell you this afternoon that we have completed the biggest trade deal yet, worth £660 billion a year, a comprehensive Canada-style free trade deal between the UK and the EU.
We've got our country back!
It's been more than 4 years since Britain chose to leave Europe, a seismic political rift that felled prime ministers
to serve the country I love
and changed the country forever. Now it's out on its own.
To our friends in the United Kingdom, I want to say, parting is such sweet sorrow.
Boris Johnson claimed the $1.2 trillion tariff-free deal delivered everything the British public was promised.
We've taken back control of our laws and our destiny. We've taken back control of every jot and tittle of our regulation in a way that is complete and unfettered.
A disastrous no-deal scenario was only days away, and millions will be relieved a deal of any kind was finally struck.
We've got certainty now. We know we've got tariff-free access to Europe. The tariffs for our business at White Farms would have amounted to over £4 million per year.
But the UK has yielded significant ground, giving European fishermen licence to plunder its waters for another 5 years and allowing Europe to impose tariffs if the UK undercuts it on labour or environmental standards.
The EU rules and standards will be respected. We have effective tools to react if fair competition is distorted and impacts our trade.
European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said the deal was good and fair, but now firmly cuts the UK from a major centre of power.
And no deal in the world can change reality or gravity in today's economy and today's world. We are one of the giants.
So has Downing Street seized the prize or let it out of its grasp? There is spin galore in this last-minute Christmas Eve announcement, and with thousands of pages of legal text yet to be made public, rest assured this is not the last we'll hear in this Brexit story. Linton Besser, ABC News, London.
More than a quarter of all coronavirus tests in South Africa are now returning a positive result. The country's rate of infection is soaring, with a 40% increase in just the past 4 weeks. South Africa's health ministry says the rise is likely being driven by a second variant of the virus, which is also spreading through the UK.
I think it's very concerning because there's no sign at the moment that we're reaching a peak. There's still rapid exponential growth.
South Africa is now on track to pass the peak of daily infections it hit in July, with total infections approaching 1 million. Contact tracers in South Korea are struggling to keep up as the country battles its largest wave of coronavirus infections to date. After being praised for the way it kept the case numbers low during the early days of the outbreak, health officials now say overconfidence has led to complacency.
With a fold-out bed and a stash of energy drinks and instant noodles nearby, medical school graduate Jung Hanaram is fighting what feels like a losing battle. He's a COVID-19 contact tracer, working a 24-hour shift in South Korea.
The sense of fatigue is very high now. It is 10 times higher than before the coronavirus spread.
His country is currently experiencing its largest wave of coronavirus infections yet. It beat 2 previous outbreaks with aggressive high-tech contact tracing, which included mining mobile phone data, credit card records and CCTV footage. But after months of touting that approach to the world, South Korea is in trouble.
The authorities knew a much more serious outbreak would be coming, and we were expecting that too. However, confidence had grown in many people's minds and it lowered their guard.
Daily case numbers now hover around 1,000. With some patients dying before they can get a hospital bed, makeshift wards are now being set up.
We've come to believe that everything was going to be okay if we wear masks properly, but that belief slowed us down in preparing for the next step. We need to be critical and learn from that.
The government's been criticised for not securing enough private hospital beds, indecisive social distancing policies, avoiding lockdowns and a slow approach to signing up for foreign vaccines.
We extremely regret that we have fallen behind a bit, where we should be faster and one step ahead of the virus.
A wake-up call for South Korea and the world. Zoe Ford, ABC News.
Truckloads of the Pfizer-BioNTech coronavirus vaccine are being loaded ready for distribution across Europe. The trucks will depart from the company's manufacturing plant in Belgium. The European Union's 27 member states are due to begin vaccinations from Sunday. It comes at a critical time for the continent, with many countries facing Christmas lockdowns and crippling second waves. At least 20 African migrants have died after their boat capsized off the coast of Tunisia. It's estimated there were around 45 people on board when the vessel sank, trying to cross the Mediterranean for Europe. Tunisia's Coast Guard rescued 5 survivors and the search for up to 20 others is continuing. Officials say the vessel had too many passengers on board and was in poor condition. More than 11,000 migrants have died or disappeared in the Mediterranean this year. COVID restrictions have put a dampener on Christmas celebrations the world over, but people have found new ways to connect and share in a season marked by giving. Religious ceremonies went ahead with fewer people in the pews and more streaming events than ever before.
Christmas Eve Mass at the Vatican, normally attended by up to 10,000 people, this year hosted fewer than 100. But the depth of feeling within St. Peter's Basilica was no less than in years past.
God came among us in poverty and need to tell us that in serving the poor, we will show our love for him.
In the traditional birthplace of Jesus, celebrations were also muted. Processions filled Bethlehem's streets, the crowd usually filled out by thousands of foreign pilgrims. This Christmas, shut out by coronavirus restrictions. In Italy, one of the countries hardest hit by the virus, there was still plenty of festive cheer. Gifts for the most vulnerable, even from strangers, brought joy. Not even the royal family was untouched by the virus.
Of course, for many, this time of year will be tinged with sadness. Some mourning the loss of those dear to them, and others missing friends and family members, distanced for safety. When all they'd really want for Christmas is a simple hug or a squeeze of the hand. If you are among them, you are not alone.
That wasn't the only message from Buckingham Palace.
'Twas the night before Christmas when all through the house,
a loved festive poem delivered by celebrities to raise money for the arts.
I flew like a flash, tore open the shutters.
And a reminder that someone is still on his way around the world.
Santa Claus has been doing this for many, many years, as you know. And he's been through pandemics before and challenges all around the globe.
And from the halls of the Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris. At its first Christmas concert since being ravaged by fire. A message of resilience to help lift Christmas spirits. Randolph Nogle, ABC News.
A retired carpenter turned wood sculptor from Hazelwood North in Victoria's Latrobe Valley has recreated giant wooden sculptures of his childhood toys. The exhibition is a display of childhood memories and will be open until early February at the Latrobe Regional Gallery in Morwell.
I'm John Avery. I'm a woodworker. I was a carpenter by trade and I retired and went to art school and started doing sculpture, and I've been busily working at it ever since. This exhibition is my childhood memories, my childhood toys and your own childhood, what you had and what you didn't have and how things have changed over the years to what the kids do now with their computers and their iPhones and their what have you. When we were kids, we got one thing or maybe two and a bag of lollies, and that was about it. It's all made out of wood. Most of it's made out of pinus radiata, which is offcuts from the sawmill, except the Lego man here. He's made of craft wood, of course, but everything else is made of recycled radiata pine. Younger kids that come along would enjoy seeing what the older people used to have. Well, my mother actually had a box with all trinkets. Crochet hooks, buttons, dice, lace-making bobbins, safety pin. The exhibition is made of big pieces because in my memory when I was a kid things seemed so big. Like, you know, the bike over here was, my brother had a bike and it was a really big bike and I remember it being really big. Same with the teddy. Then when you come back as an adult to look at them and think, oh, only that big. So, you know, it's basically just overemphasising the size to give a childhood's perspective.